everyone, and welcome to another Scots Whay Hae podcast. This is the first of our Edinburgh Fringe podcasts for 2024, and I'm joined by actor Craig Barclay and writer Tony Voller to talk about their show Addict. Hello, both.
Hello.
Hi, morning.
So what can you tell us about Addict? Give us a kind of overview of the piece.
So Addict is about the joy, the jeopardy of life online. It's about being addicted to your phone. And I wrote it about 5 years ago based on my own experiences of the joyous Twitter pylon. I posted something and was quite surprised at how people responded. And I kind of got a bit fed up with it. And a friend said, well, write about it. So I've written a play about a character called John, which is the character that Craig plays, who isn't really interested in social media at the start of the play. He's a paramedic, he's engaged the love of his life, and he tweets something one evening that kind of goes viral, and he thinks he's the bee's knees, but then he starts to notice that people are starting to question him, to challenge him, and then it really gets quite abusive. So he gets sucked into that dark side of the internet and decides that he's going to track down one particular person who's got under his skin. And it follows John's journey into his addiction to his phone and watches how his online life creates problems in the real world, and his life spirals out of control.
It's really interesting that you said you wrote this or started to write this 5 years ago, because I think we're very kind of present day and recency bias and all those things, and we think, oh, this is something that's happening right now, but actually this has been going on for a long time, the kind of addiction to devices, even more than just phones.
Yeah, I think for me that's what surprised me, because I'd written it 5 years ago and I wondered how relevant it would be. So when Craig and I started to talk about potential collaboration, I wondered whether Addict would still be relevant, but you've kind of only got to look online to see that it's still going on, and in some ways it's getting slightly worse and more worrying. I think it is an addiction that we don't talk about.
Yeah, I would absolutely agree, and you can kind of see it everywhere as you go about your daily life. Craig, how did you connect with the story straight away? How did you get involved?
Well, so Tony and I worked together on an audio play. I think it was it was a couple of years ago, and that was kind of the beginning of the collaboration process, because we did that, and then we did like a writer's showcase together. Yeah, which you acted in as well.
Sadly.
Yeah. And then from that came the idea for, well, not the idea, sorry, from that came the collaboration with for Addict. And it was because you presented the play, you said, oh, I have this play as a one-man play, and I was like, oh, that's a really interesting idea. And I read the script and I thought it was like great. And it's kind of more what Tony was saying as well. It's like it's this ever sort of constant underlying thing in society, on your way in on the train, and Tony and myself, we both live in London, and when I was traveling here for the interview today, it's weird, you look around on the public transport and you see all these people.
Yeah.
And I've noticed it myself. I mean, I do it obviously in the world, everyone's facing down the way and stuff, and you kind of look at it and think, I can't imagine a world where that wasn't the case. And it's interesting because you only have to look at your screen time on I only look at my screen time on my phone to kind of feel a bit ashamed, to be honest. And it's like, oh my God, like it does take over so much. But the thing about the play that really fascinated me was like the thought of, I think the only way that really drama, theatre, and imagination can is like, okay, what would happen if you took that to the extreme? Like if you took that screen time number, or you took that watching all these people on their phones, or yourself on your phone, and you took that to like the really far extreme, like what would that become? What would that be like? And that is essentially what has played out on stage in Addict. So,
and Tony, it came from your own experience. Obviously, that's what you're doing as a writer. But how extreme is the play compared to that experience?
Yeah, I mean, I think I would say it's loosely based on the experience I had. I certainly didn't do what John does. So John becomes an internet sleuth, trying to find this one guy and trick him into meeting him so that he can expose him, and show the world what a pretty nasty individual is. But in doing so, he has to encounter all of the people that are associated with this guy and befriend him. So it is a bit like a detective story in some respects. And I think, you know, what's extreme is that John does that. I think a lot of people stay in the social media bubble and they're quite happy to just post stuff, but very few people go out and track people down. But we are starting to see that that's happening. So is it so extreme? I think it probably felt more extreme 5 years ago, but we are seeing increases in sort of criminal behavior online and people saying things that they are being held accountable for. So it surprises me just how far it's going. And at the time I thought it was bad enough. But what I wanted to tell was kind of an entertaining story about one man's particular perspective. It's not really taking down social media and saying it's a bad thing. It's here, we use it. We're using it to promote Addict. So it has some good stuff.
And I think that's important to say as well, is that the play itself isn't anti-social media. You know, it's not a condemnation of each platform itself. It's more of an exploration of like what the effects of social media could have on someone's psyche if they were inclined the way that John is, for example. So yeah, I think it's important to kind of clarify we're not, you know, it's not like we're saying, oh, social media is bad, like down with social media. No, like Tony was saying, we're using it to promote the play, and there are obviously good things that can come from social media. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I can just imagine the audience before the show starts. Many of them will be sitting, as I do myself, on the phone, because sometimes you're at a space where it's going to be quiet, and you know that I'll just check my messages. I'll just check. You know, that's just the reality of life, isn't it? And then we'll go on to see the show, which is all about exactly that, and that kind of addiction. So how was the process of collaboration between the two of you? And how did that maybe change as it went along?
Yeah, I think as Craig said, we met by chance, really. Somebody that I knew was recording some audio plays and had chosen something that I'd written, and Craig was there, and we kind of got chatting. And then, as Craig said, we performed in a showcase about 6 or 9 months later, and we just got chatting about what we were each looking to do. I'm a fairly new writer. I kind of started writing later in life after my career in kind of corporate life. And obviously Craig's starting out his acting career, and we just started chatting about how do we make work and how do we get things put on stage. So we just started talking about Addict and what we could do with it. Luckily, I have a co-writer that I work with occasionally, Maureen, and my writing coach and tutor, Lisa, who said they'd be happy to direct it. And we just kind of formed this happy band of people saying, well, let's see how far we can take this play, and how we can bring it to life. Because it's really easy putting stuff on the page. Well, not all that easy. And you kind of think, I think I've got the bones of a story here, but it was when we got in the rehearsal room and started to play with it and let Craig kind of find the characters, because he plays more than one character. It's a one-man play. So he plays his fiance, he plays the person who's being trolled by, he plays work colleagues. So we kind of needed to work with Craig to say, how are we going to bring this to life and give you the space to find those characters? And that's been the really exciting bit.
And is it debuting at the Fringe? Is this going to be the first time it's been seen?
We took it to the Hens and Chickens Theatre in London, which is a really great place for new writing. They love you to come and just experiment. So we took it for 2 days last June, just to try it out. It's a slightly longer version of the play, because Fringe, you need to kind of get it down a little bit. And we were just really surprised that we sold out on the second night. And everybody who came to see us afterwards and said they really enjoyed the play, it made them think. And then they said, you should take this to the Fringe. And we thought, right, well, we could do that. A little bit late to do it last year. And we thought maybe in a couple of years we'll do it. And then we just thought, well, what's holding us back? Let's just do it. You know, let's just have a go and see what we can do with it.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because when I first read the premise, my initial reaction is, one, I would like to see this, and two, this will be something that so many people will identify with and want to explore themselves, because I think so many people realize that whether they consider it addiction or not, they're on their phones a lot, and maybe having someone else explore the reasons for that or what could be behind that might be more enlightening to them than doing it themselves. Do you know? It might be like what, like you were saying, Craig, you look at screen time and you kind of go, oh, I don't want to look at that again because I'm actually a bit scared by what that is. But when someone else is kind of playing these things out in front of you, I think it might be more accessible. So, yeah, I hopefully you will get the kind of audiences for that very reason.
Yeah.
I'm interested, Craig, as an actor, where you begin with a new piece of writing. So obviously, if you're doing something, you know, that's been done elsewhere, or that would be from Shakespeare down, you know, that's been played, you've got precedent, you've got people maybe that you can say, oh, this is how this person approached it or whatever. But when it's a brand new piece of writing, how do you approach that?
I think it's a really interesting question, because there is, I mean, elements of, you know, if you're doing something like a Shakespeare play or something, you know, there is an inclination. The way that I was trained was that, you know, you shouldn't really look at past performances of things, because it could muddy the water slightly what your idea of the character you want to play is. But obviously with new writing, there isn't that, you know, there isn't that sort of danger, I guess you could say. So it really is like a blank state, but that's a really a blank slate. But so that's like, but that's a really exciting prospect, you know, because you read the play and you go, okay, what is this character about? You know, what can how can I create this character? What can this character be? You know, it's like there's no one else before, there's no one else, there could be people after.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just this thing where I was advocate for my firing. I don't know.
You're in.
But it is this thing as an actor where you kind of go, wow, this new piece of writing has never ever been done before. Not only is it like new, which is one thing, but it's a one-person play, which is also incredibly exciting. But you get to fully create something completely on your own and by yourself. And yeah, I really relish that experience and that opportunity, to be honest with you.
So is it both kind of freeing and challenging as well? So
Oh,
it's a
yeah.
mix of all these things.
Yeah, it definitely is. I mean, I think because I think really, you know, the freedom comes from the fact that, like I was saying, like it's not there's no like blueprint to do it, to create the character. The only blueprint really for the character is the script. You know, there's nothing else, which obviously inherently it should be, but it's like the only blueprint you have to go off and you have rightly to go off is a script. And sorry, I forgot the second point I was going to make. But then that is like incredibly freeing.
Yeah.
For me as a performer, definitely 100%.
I think what's been really interesting for me is having seen Craig perform in the audio play that we did, and obviously I wasn't involved in it, and then when we performed together on stage, and I'm not an actor, I don't really like that. Craig really does inhabit the character that he's playing. And I think what's really been exciting for us to watch is that he's not just one character. He has to inhabit and show the audience all these different personalities that the play requires him to. And seeing them evolve and each one being really different. There is his alter ego, his online alter ego. We kind of personify him in a very different way to John, and he truly terrifies us in the rehearsal room. We're all kind of shying away from Craig when he's playing Joe, his online alter ego, because he is so terrifying. And I think that's been really exciting to see how the variation of the characters come together as well. And it's just him. It's brilliant.
I remember the second point I was going to make, if I could. It's see the fact that it's a new piece of writing and it's the first time people are going to see it, and it's performed by well, on this occasion myself. It's kind of exciting to be. It's kind of exciting. It is exciting to be the vehicle for that, you know, because I think that like people are going to be walking into the Fringe with so many other plays as well. You know, that like the program just came out yesterday and there's so much on display. It's incredible, and it's like to be amongst that is also like a great honor. But it's it's the thing of like, oh, people are going to come into the Fringe and walk into that theatre and sit down in their seat, you know, and look at watch the play take place in front of them. And it's going to be the first time they've ever seen that story, the first time they've ever seen that character. And that's the opportunity. And that's what I really love about this is it's like, I get to create that first experience for so many people. And I think that's a really fantastic thing to be able to do as an actor.
Absolutely. And do things change during the process? Have things changed during the process of rehearsal? You know, does Craig's performances ever affect the rewriting, or do you ever talk about, well, would the character do that? You know, how does it work?
Yeah, very much so. I mean, when we started rehearsing last year for the Hens and Chickens, we've kind of repeated that process in some ways, but we spent time just really talking about each character and what do they like, what do they bring, and just again letting Craig experiment in the room. And some of the things that Craig did and some of the ad libs that we talked about, we kind of put into the play. So I think it's very much a team process. You know, that there is the play, I've written it that particular way, but how you bring it to life and the kind of subtleties that you add to it is very much down to Lisa and Maureen, our directors, and Craig. And it has evolved. I mean, the play was, as I said, I think I said earlier, 75 minutes at the Hens and Chickens. We've now brought it down to 55 minutes. So we've had to take some things out.
Yeah.
But what we've tried to preserve is all of the great stuff that Craig has brought around the character and the story that makes it faster paced. You know, it's got highs, it's got lows. You know, we've got chairography. We've got he has to perform with a chair in various scenes. So we've built that as we've gone, and I think it is a better play this year than it was last year. And I think it had some rough edges. And again, that's the beauty of being in a rehearsal room, is you can hone the play and make it tighter and more dramatic and more fun. And each week we do something and you just think, oh yeah, add that, have that. So we're probably not quite there yet in terms of where the performance will be on the 2nd of August. Because we know every time we go in the rehearsal room, there'll be something that we'll find to just tweak and play with.
Yeah.
And Craig, in your experience of theatre, perhaps to both of you, do you think it will continue to change throughout the run? Because I'm guessing the Edinburgh Fringe is one of the few places where you're going to have a run of nightly shows like you are going right through. And will there be discussions saying, well, that really worked well, if you've not done that before, there might be something which is incidental, which actually you think this worked? Is that how it works?
Yeah, I think it definitely has to. I think that's the other thing, talking about development of the play and the whole rehearsal process and including the run, is that, you know, you can always find new stuff to add or new stuff to try out. Like I think like 2 days ago we were in rehearsal or something, and then we were talking about changing a certain line in the play, and none of us had ever realized or noticed it before. And it was like, wow, if we change this, it might make this bit make more sense, and it might change this sort of angle of it. And it's just, we're constantly making these new discoveries, and that's what is also so exciting, because it's like every day that we do it in Edinburgh, and every day we do it in the rehearsal and the run up to Edinburgh, we, you know, we're constantly making these discoveries that we can tweak, or trying new things out that we can tweak to make the play a better story, I think. And that's really something that's going to be so cool to the Fringe as well, especially because something that's a consistent run, you know, for 2 weeks.
Yeah, I think that's
Sorry, on you go.
I think that's the beauty of theatre. I mean, I'm a huge theatre fan. I love cinema, but cinema is, you get the product, it's there, it doesn't change, it's static, and everybody sees it. They might be in a different mood when they see it. Every night in the theatre, you have different people experiencing a story, and their reactions will be different. And when you are working with just Craig, as we are, one person, they will bring different things each night. And I think that's part of the excitement of doing a one-man play, is that you allow it to kind of have its own life every night. That's
just what I was going to say. I think maybe apart from some live music, theatre is where things change on a night. You know, I could go and see at the beginning, I could go and see the same show at the end, and it could feel entirely different. And I think when theatre is at its best, there's really nothing to match it in terms of the excitement it gives an audience in that way. And we should mention where it's going to be and when, so that people kind of know these things. Whereabouts is it?
So we're at Space 2 on the Mile. So
Radisson
Blue Hotel.
Yeah.
It's on at 1:05 every afternoon. So we're going for the afternoon slot. And we're running from the 2nd to the 17th of August. We have a day off on the 11th. But yeah, we're really excited. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, I think it's Space 39, right?
Yeah, I think that's how it's in the brochure.
In the brochure, and the little thing at the bottom.
And in terms of people can get tickets, what's the best place for them to do? Where's the best place for them to go, I should say?
Definitely the Edinburgh Fringe box office. And nice and simple. We're early on in the program. Addict. One word. That's all they've got to search for. Addict on the Fringe brochure, and they'll take you to the ticket link.
Now that is genius, because as someone who has trawled through many Edinburgh Fringe programs over the years, your A's will get the attention. There is no doubt. It's like having, A plumbers in the old phone book. It's going to work every time.
I wish I could tell you that was planned. It was completely by accident. We just suddenly thought, we're an A. This is
a happy accident.
Yeah.
And does the space itself, Craig, have you seen the space? Does that kind of affect the performance at all?
It's interesting.
So I was at the Fringe in 2022. I've been, this is going to be my third time. So I've been once in 2016 as an audience member. And then I was at home. I got my roots there.
That's talking to me, but I'll take the blame for that one.
And then I was there in 2022 doing a play at the Space called The College Shed. And then actually, when I was at that Fringe, I went to see a production in the venue that we are in. And, it was funny because we were looking through all the venues and stuff when we were first going through the options. And I was like, oh my God, I know that venue we're looking for. I was like, oh, that'd be quite interesting. Because when we did it in the Hens and Chickens last year, it was like the staging was only one direction. But now it's on two sides. And it's really, really quite cool. And it's like what you were saying earlier about changing the play, because it's like that added a whole new dimension of like, oh, how can we utilize this walkway in the middle? How can we do this?
Yeah.
And I think the space itself is, that was one of the reasons that we went for it. We were like, we're going to go to the Fringe with this play. We want to do it at a venue or a group of venues that are reputable and good.
Yeah.
And, I think the Space has been a staple of the Fringe for quite some time. So it's like, we go for one of the big ones, and the Space was the one that we thought, wow, this is great. Yeah.
And you mentioned there, Craig, about the festival experiences you've had. Tony, have you had any previous festival experience, or is this kind of the first time for yourself?
Oh, I am a Fringe virgin.
We'll go easy on you.
Yeah. A slightly side note, I was kind of trying to do something online and record something, and I said, I am a Fringe virgin. And it said, I'm a French virgin. And I kind of thought, I am neither. But anyway, so I've not been to the Fringe. I was going to go in 2020 when COVID happened. But this is going to be my first experience as a writer. But it's also my first experience going to get the buzz. And I'm hoping that we will find time for me to be an audience member and go and see all the other great shows and experience the buzz of it, because it's been a long dream to go to the Fringe. Some people might say it's mad to do both, but we're going to do it anyway.
Just something that's occurred to me earlier, Tony, you said when the previous version of Addict was 75 minutes, I think you said longer. And of course, by the kind of requirements of Edinburgh, it's usually under an hour that you have to kind of get it down to. If you were to take it elsewhere, would you put those bits back in? Would you make it a longer piece again? Or is that a decision you don't have to make for now?
I think we could. I think, it is a play that you could expand. I think you'd have to be careful about. So given that we took them out and we haven't really felt we haven't mourned or grieved over anything that we've taken out. You kind of have to question whether we put that back in. I think there are some things I'd love to experiment further with outside the Fringe if we're lucky enough to get people interested in the play. I think using technology and make it a bit more immersive and interactive could be fun.
Yeah.
I'm really not sure about making it more than one character, one actor. I love the fact that it is that it's in his head. We're seeing all the stuff that's going on in his head on stage. I'm not sure the dynamic would work, but we could. And there are a couple of other ideas that I've got that if we had a little bit longer to play with, I'd like to just experiment and see what they add to the story. But I think what's been so interesting is it's evolved as a story in a play over the last 5 years. And for a good part of those 5 years, it was in a drawer thinking, I'm not sure this will ever see the light of day. And now it has. It's got a bit more new life to it and real potential if we're lucky enough to get that.
Yeah, wonderful. And Craig, what's the challenges of playing multiple characters on stage in the same piece? Do you have to develop them one at a time, or do they all kind of feed into each other? How does it work?
Yeah, I mean, like Tony was saying, we went through quite a lot, quite deeply and a lot at long length. Last year when we started the rehearsal process to going through each and every one of the characters and stuff, and kind of experimenting with how they would be, how they would talk and stuff, and then we focused a lot on the physicality of the characters.
Right.
The two central sort of ones that I play are quite different, and you know, physicality as well as, I mean, incredibly different in voice. But going through each and every individual one, and it's interesting because, you know, that's one of the things about doing a one-person play is that you get to create all these characters and think about how they'd be, but you know, it's like you get to know them, each and every one, but also in quite a quick and fleeting way. There's like one character comes in very, very quickly, and it's like, oh, you know, you get to explore what they would be like and what their life would be like, what they would be doing in that moment, you know, whether it's someone sitting on the couch kind of watching television, what they'd be like, what would they be doing, and then it would flip to like a character who comes back quite a lot and like, oh, what is this person like? What would they sound like? What's their demeanor? Are they, you know, they might be condescending or they might be sarcastic or whatever. And it's like, you know, quickly changing between these people it's just so much fun to do. And you know, as an actor doing a one-person play, it's exciting to create one character, especially one that was a bit that's a new piece of writing, you know, but getting the opportunity to create 15 or something. So yeah, I mean, that's, you know, it's like a all you can eat buffet kind of thing.
Yeah. Do these voices stay with you for any length of time, or can you just leave them at the door?
Yeah, I mean, one of the characters is a prop, and every time I look at the prop, which is a hat, kind of always kind of comes back to me, and he's quite a special one. I think the audience will quite like him as well. But as this thing, it's so much fun to slip into each and every one of them and play around with how you can do it differently. It's a lot of fun. Yeah, really does sink.
Sorry.
No, I just saying it really does sink in. It's really good.
Yeah. Tony, you mentioned that you're hoping not just to, you know, do your own show, but hopefully get to see some other things as well. Have you managed to kind of look at the program and see anything that might, you know, take your fancy, or is it too early for that?
I think it's too early. We have got a friend who's going, and they're actually performing immediately after us in the same venue.
Wow.
She's stalking us. I don't think so, or that's how it happened. So we're definitely going to see her play, which is, you know, that's got to be one of the things that we do. But I think this weekend and next weekend, I'm going to start looking through the brochure and just really highlighting and making sure that they're the right time of day. And I think that's the thing, is we know we've got a job to do.
Yeah.
Our morning's going to be flyering, our lunchtime's going to be performing, afternoon and evenings is when I'm going to get my free time and just go and see what's available. But I've seen so much stuff already that's coming out on social media and from the Fringe themselves that I'm thinking, oh, that looks fantastic. And there's a little bit that you're thinking, oh my God, we're competing with all of this great stuff. But as a theatre goer, I'm kind of really excited to kind of fill the diary up as much as I can without getting too exhausted.
Sure, that's the trick, I think, definitely. And once the Fringe is over, can you even think about what's going to be happening next for both of you, or is it just fully focused on the Fringe at the moment, Craig, yourself?
God, I don't know. I mean, because it's one of these interesting things about doing the Fringe. You know, I didn't really have this experience before, but it does become this sort of, it does become like a job. And it is, I mean, that's so exciting because obviously it's, you know, inherently we're doing what we want to do. But we started, when we started talking earlier on in the year about doing the Fringe, and it was like, oh, okay, we'll do it, we'll go along, we'll do the play. The play was great last year, we'll do it again. And then it was like, boom, 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 boom. There's all this work, and I was like, oh my God. But it's so exciting at the same time because it's like, oh, it's this mammoth mountain of work that we need to do, but it's exactly what we want to be doing. So it's like, you know, I've never been more excited to climb a mountain before. But I mean, that's literally all I can think about at the moment. After the Fringe, I don't know. I mean,
A lie down.
a lie down, yeah, a nap,
Yeah.
a nap, that'd be nice.
Yeah.
Maybe, yeah.
I wonder if, I guess we'll be able to answer this until afterwards, but in terms of you changing as an actor and changing as a writer, this is a kind of real boot camp almost of what you're having to do, because you are, as you say, Craig, going day after day after day to do it in a manner that you are unlikely to do at any other time. So you kind of have to change, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think that's a little like Craig said, you know, the focus on my writing at the moment is on Addict. You know, I always love to write, and I've been trying to kind of focus on a couple of other projects. It's so hard because you kind of always come back to, so what are we doing? We've got rehearsals this week. We need to focus on this. Marketing, we've got to focus on sound design. We've got to focus on all the other things that we're doing. It would be great if the Fringe is a great platform for us to sort of jump off from and just let people know about Addict and see where we can take it. I think it would be great for as long as Craig's got the energy to keep going with this particular role, because it is demanding. I do feel guilty sometimes that I've given him so much to do. But I've got other projects, as has Maureen, one of our directors, and we're kind of very supportive of each other's work. So if we can find other opportunities, once we're through August, and we kind of take a little bit of a breath, let's see what happens, but then we can start thinking about other projects. And if Craig wants to continue working with us with our work, but he wants to work with other people, I'm sure, as well. So it's August is our goal right now. Let's get to August and enjoy it and have a drink afterwards.
Quite right, absolutely. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me, and all the very best with Addict. I'm really looking forward to seeing it. It sounds yeah, right up my street.
Thanks, Alistair. Appreciate it.
Looking forward to
Thanks for your time.
And there will be further Edinburgh Fringe podcasts coming very soon.